Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be discussing the 2001 film Jeepers Creepers as suggested by these lovely subscribers here. I do feel this is a good time for me to say that all movie recommendations are welcome. I know for a minute we niched a little too hard. Okay, but I just want to be very clear that all movie recommendations, horror films, documentaries, except for Colored Girls and Precious. Y'all keep asking me, I'm not gonna do it. I'm so sorry. It's just too much. Too much. But anyways, on to today's movie. Starting off with our main characters, we have Derry and Trish. They are siblings and they are road tripping from their college to their home for spring break. They're playing a road trip game and it's basically making words and phrases out of license plates. Like, it's very typical road trip brother sister behavior. Everything's fine, everything's going normal until they have a very unhinged encounter with a truck driver. The truck comes up behind them and he's honking at them. He won't go around them and it's just like a very strange interaction. We'll come to know this driver as the Creeper. Eventually, the Creeper drives off and Derry and Trish continue on with their road trip. Derry and Trish are obviously shaken up by the situation, but they continue on their route. And at some point, they're driving by what appears to be an abandoned church, and they see the Creeper's truck parked outside of the church. And then, almost immediately after noticing the truck, they notice the Creeper. And then they notice the Creeper taking what appears to be bodies wrapped up in a sheet, tied with rope from the truck into a mysterious pipe. And I think this is where I start to get frustrated with our main characters because they are staring hard as fuck. And for Derry to be driving, he's staring hard at shit. Like, keep your eyes on the road. And this is why I would not have gotten caught up in this film, because my eyes would have been on the road the whole time. It would have been, you see, it would have been this action right here. Like, imagine this is the road right here like this. And then I'm like over here staring, watching somebody dump bodies. Derry and Trish are staring as the Creeper is grabbing his next body to dump. He looks over his shoulder and now they're making eye contact. They see the Creeper dumping bodies and the Creeper sees them seeing him dumping bodies. I get it. Like, I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you're seeing something but you haven't really registered what you're seeing as you're seeing it. And then by the time you do realize, it's too late. That's exactly what happens here. Like that one time I was behind a Walgreens and seeing a homeless man catering to himself, and by the time I realized what was going on, I seen him, he seen me. It was a whole thing. Very traumatizing stuff. Like I said, they're making eye contact with each other and Trish and Derry still don't look away. Like, at least with the homeless man, as soon as I realized, immediately, as soon as I seen him see me, I turned away immediately. They're just like looking at each other. Trish and Derry are now freaking out. Trish is telling Derry, like, you need to drive, hurry up, let's get up out of here. And they try to call the authorities or try to call somebody, but Derry's phone is dead. By this time, the Creeper has jumped back in his truck and is chasing them down. The Creeper is right on them. He's laying on the horn. He ends up hitting their rear bumper and they swerve into a field and the Creeper just keeps driving. So the car is damaged at this point. Derry does like some makeshift repairs on the car and he's sitting there and he's thinking, and then he tells Trish, we both know what we seen back there, referring to the Creeper dumping bodies in that mysterious pipe at the abandoned church. Derry is basically saying that him and Trish should go back and see if there's anybody alive that they can help. So Trish is against this and she's suggesting that they get back on the road, go to the nearest payphone and try to call the authorities so they can go and help and see what's going on at the church. Derry rebuttals and says that the next payphone won't be for miles and that if somebody is still alive, they have to act now if they want to save somebody. Derry is basically guilt tripping Trish and is saying if it were you, you would want somebody to go back and save you. And he tells her, look me in my eye and tell me that going back isn't the right thing to do. And I would have been like, we're not going back. What the fuck do you not understand about that? And he's basically saying if they go there and there's nothing that they can do and there's something that they can help, then they'll go to a payphone, call the cops and send them to the church. So Trish feels guilty and reluctantly agrees. They get in the car and head back to the church. And this is one of the reasons why I like Jeepers Creepers, because I feel like it's a good what would you do scenario. And like, now if you've seen the movie, we know what's up and we know that we wouldn't be going back to that church. But I will say, prior to knowing where this shit is about to go, I definitely would not go back. What the fuck? And it's not even out of selfishness, it's just out of pure logic. I feel if you're an off-duty first responder, an off-duty police officer, I see why you may feel inclined to do that. But me, a civilian, there's no way I'm going back there. It wouldn't be good for anybody. In the way that this movie progresses, Batman would be useless in this situation. And me, myself, I do have a specific set of skills. It's just that not a single one of them could contribute to this exact scenario. I have listed my personal set of pros and cons in this given situation. Pros: I have real strong legs. If somebody could jump on my shoulders, I could possibly carry them out, okay? My second pro is I have an expired no hand CPR certification. And I know what you're thinking, expired, Mally, what the fuck are you gonna do with that? An expired no hand CPR certification is better than no hand CPR certification. Do you know what I mean? And cons: hella asthmatic. My asthma real bad. If there's a situation where we need to run, I'm gonna push you. So it's like, I would be completely useless in this situation. But to be fair, as would Batman. So there's that. Imagine if they decided not to go back and then John Quinones from the hit TV show What Would You Do just emerges from the back seat and makes him feel like shit for not going back. I wouldn't care. He wouldn't make me feel bad. I'd be like, "What? You go back there, John." Damn. So now we're back at the abandoned church because Tweedledee and Tweedledum thought they could go be Captain Save-A-Ho, so let's just roll with it, okay? Derry and Trish are looking down the pipe. Derry is yelling down the pipe, trying to see if somebody is there, and just as we think that all hope is lost, you hear a voice yelling up from the pipe. A faint yell that I would have been like, I would have pretended not to hear that shit. I was like, well, hopefully the authorities can get here in enough time. I don't know. Because can you imagine me in a situation like that? And if you can't imagine it, just humor me real quick. Close your eyes and pretend you are blindfolded, wrapped up in a sheet, tied up at the bottom of a pipe. Oh my God, Trish, there's literally a body down here. What do I do? What the fuck do I do? Should I resuscitate? What the fuck do I? Oh my God, Trish, wait, it looks like they're breathing. Ma'am, sir, they, them, don't worry, we're here to help you. I see a knife, it's a few yards away. I'm gonna go run and get it and get these ropes off of you. I think it was more than a few yards away. My inhaler. Trish. Oh my God, is there pollen or dust down here? Trisha! Get my inhaler from the glove compartment. Trish. So anyways, Derry tells Trish to hold his feet while he shimmies down the pipe to see if he can get a better look at the bottom. And Derry sees a rat, freaks out, and Trish starts freaking out. They're both screaming. Trish ends up letting him go, and Derry falls to the bottom of the pipe, which leads down into the church's cellar. Derry sees one of the bodies that was wrapped up and tied up, so he goes over there to investigate. He kind of kicks the body. So the person in the sheet is still alive and grabs Derry. Then Derry starts freaking out, and I'm like, bro, this is literally what you signed up for. He removes the sheet, and there's a man there. He does not look like he's in good shape. The man himself is trying to reach down, like he's gesturing towards his body. Derry helps him in removing the sheet further down, and there is an incision going down his abdomen, and it looks like it's stitched up with like a very thin rope. And so the man is trying to whisper something to Derry. It's very unclear what he's trying to say, and Derry looks absolutely shook. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm very disappointed in Derry in this moment in time, because all that shit he was talking when they were in the middle of that field, and this is how he's responding. But I needed from Derry, I needed the phrase, how to save a life to cut on. I needed the pit. I needed Grey's Anatomy. I needed Scrubs if he was feeling comedic. I needed him to cut into action and save a life. But no, he just sits there looking shook. So Derry is shook, and he yells up to Trish to look out for a car, and if somebody drives by, wave them down and tell them to call the authorities. And Derry also instructs Trish, if she sees the creeper driving up, to run back to the pipe and warn Derry. In the meantime, he's going to try to find a way to escape. So as Derry is exploring the cellar, he's kind of looking around, I guess what you could describe as the creeper's lair. And so he's looking around, and y'all, there's like, the cellar leads into a cave, and it's lined with bodies, and it's very clear that the creeper has preserved the bodies somehow, and it's like literally lined with bodies. It's horrific. It's a horrific sight to see. Meanwhile, Trish is upstairs doing an awful job at keeping watch, and In the distance, we, the audience, sees a truck that looks very similar to the creeper's vehicle pulling up to the church, and Trish realizes a second too late and she runs, not to warn Derry, but to try to get in the car and drive off. But the car isn't starting, but the truck drives by and it's not the creeper, it's a completely different truck. But holy shit, she was really gonna leave her brother. I get that it was his dumb idea for going back, so I can't blame her 100%, but oh my god, can you imagine? After the truck drives by, Trish is in the car looking shook, and just as this is happening, Derry has somehow made it out of the cellar, and he's now at the car and he's staring at Trish through the car window, and it looks like he's in shock. Like, he's not speaking, he looks just shook. Trish is driving, she sees that their gas tank is on E, and they pull up to a gas station slash diner, and so they park their car. Trish runs inside and is very urgently trying to tell the patrons and the staff, like, somebody needs to call the cops, we need to call the police now. And the lack of urgency in this diner is really frustrating for me. Everybody's just kind of looking at her like she's crazy, like they're not comprehending, like nobody's moving to call the cops or anything. The waitress finally acknowledges Trish and just says, okay. And Trish pulls Derry off to the side and tells him that he needs to get it together so he's able to report what he's seen to the police. As Trish has pulled Derry off to the side, the payphone begins to ring and Trish answers it, and it is a woman, and she somehow is aware of everything that they've gone through. She's aware of the creeper and aware of the creeper's lair in the church cellar, and she is able to identify Derry, and Derry gets on the phone and she literally describes Derry's very specific tattoo, his shirt being ripped, and she's asking him if they've seen cats yet. This will make sense a little bit later on, and she tells Derry if he hears this song, creepers, creepers, where did you get those creepers? Creepers, creepers, where did you get those eyes? Then he needs to run. Derry becomes frustrated with the woman over the phone and hangs up. I also forgot to mention, the woman over the phone suggests or implies that the creeper is not human. Just keep that in mind. At this point, Derry has given his statement to the police. The police are hesitant to believe him. Trish, his own sister, is hesitant to believe him because keep in mind, Derry was the only one in the cellar and he was the only one that seen all of that crazy shit. All of those bodies lined wall to wall. So Derry can kind of tell that the police are in disbelief of his story, and he gets very irritated, very frustrated. Obviously, he's getting very upset. And as this interaction is happening, we see the patrons and the diner staff crowding around the windows of the diner, and one of the waitresses comes up to Trish and Derry and is like, hey, is that your car outside? So Derry and Trish run outside along with the cops and a few of the patrons and staff, and the car has very clearly been broken into, and Derry's clothes that were in the back seat are all laid out on the ground. And the waitress was saying that she's seen a man out there sniffing Derry's laundry, and she said it looked like he was enjoying it too. We could only assume this to have been the creeper, and honestly this was perfect timing because I felt that this made Derry's story more believable to the police. So Derry notices that there's a handprint on the car's handle, and the police take the handprint in for evidence. So Derry and Trish are back on the road, and the officers are riding along behind them, I'm assuming escorting them to the police station. So as they're driving, the cops' radio is going off, and apparently somebody set the old church on fire. The police radio goes off again, and the prints that they ran from the creeper's handprint is like, they said it's from like a really, really old corpse. So ahead of the police officers is Derry and Trish, and they're listening to the radio. They're trying to find a station, and Derry hears a song that sounds familiar, and it is a variation of the song that the lady on the phone was warning him about, saying that if he hears that song, that he needs to run or get out. As he turns the station back to the song, we see that the creeper is literally on top of the police car behind them. So the police hear something on top of the car. The officer in the passenger seat rolls down the window. She peeks her head out, gets scooped up by the creeper. The creeper removes the head of the officer driving the car, throws the head, and it hits like the windshield of Trish and Derry's car. They swerve out of control. The car behind them swerves out of control because obviously there's no driver in there. So now both cars are in the middle of the street. Trish goes to investigate the police officer's car and notices that the creeper is sitting in the driver's side of the police car. Trish takes a step further, even though she sees the creeper in the driver's side, and sees the police officer's decapitated head in front of the police car. So now she is like, oh snap, we need to go. So she slowly starts stepping back. The creeper creeper gets out of the car. She runs back into the car. Her and Derry are still in the car, just staring at the creeper. And it's like, I'm curious, but I'm not that damn curious. I would have absolutely have driven off. That's all I would have needed to see. Y'all see the dude that's been chasing y'all, and you see that the cop's head is no longer attached to his body. Like, it's time to go. And so they're watching the creeper walk over to the cop's decapitated head, and then he starts making out with the cop's decapitated head. And I said, okay, Jeepers Creepers, that's real progressive, having a LGBTQ demon immortal thing go off. And it's not until like the creeper is half makeout sesh with the cop's head, and he like bites the tongue of the cop and like pulls it out a little bit, and that's when they finally say, okay, we've seen enough, let's get out of here. And so they pull up at this random lady's house, and we see like the silhouette of the lady, and her whole vibe is just unsettling.
Ow, jump scare.
And Trish asks if she has a phone. She lies about having the phone initially because she's worried that they're going to call the cops and bring the cops there because she has too many cats. And as I mentioned before, when Derry and Trish were in the diner, the lady was asking them, like, have you seen cats? And now they're surrounded by this creepy ass lady and a plethora of cats. As Derry is realizing there are cats, he's recalling this phone conversation, and he tells Trish that they need to get up out of there. And as Derry is telling Trish that they need to get the fuck out of there, the lights go out and the creeper is there, and he's just staring at them. It's very creepy. And the old lady sees the creeper. She comes out, and she's strapped, as she should be, as an older woman living alone out in the middle of nowhere. So she has her gratatata, and she starts shooting at the creeper. We think that she's handled it wrong. We hear a bit of a ruckus inside of her home. So the old lady is looking at Trish and Derry like, what did you bring into my house? Because honestly, imagine you're just chilling with your cats. These two assholes bring you some drama like this. But the lady goes back inside. We hear gratatataing. And at this point, Trish and Derry haven't run back to their car. And I'm just like, y'all are dumb. Like, y'all need to be on the move. Y'all need to be moving right now. And so we see the old lady, and she appears out of the shadows, and we're like, oh my God, she won the gunfight. Wrong. The creeper is holding her. Like, her legs are literally off the ground. He's holding her and is walking up to the front door out of the shadows. We now see the creeper, and now we get a good look at his face. Trish and Derry get to see his creepy ass face. And they say, mm-mm. So finally they run to the car. The creeper is not far behind them, and they get out into the middle of the road, and the creeper is now in front of their car, but unfortunately their car is stuck in reverse. And so Derry's like, just hit it, punch it, get back, do whatever you gotta do. We just need to get away from this dude. So Trish reverses the car, and she puts it back in gear, and she's like, I'm gonna run this dude over. So she goes to run over the creeper, and the creeper, it's like some Subway Surfer shit. Like, he successfully like jumps over the car. She reverses back. Like, it's like back and forth of her going to run him over. He jumps over. She reverses back to hit him. He jumps over. And so now they're at a standstill, and she waits for the perfect moment and is able to run him over successfully. And she runs him over back and forth, back and forth. It's like Derry has to stop her. So he's like, stop, like, we got to get out of here. And so they're staring at the creeper, trying to make sure the deed is done. But mind you, they ran over him like a bunch of times. And so they're just kind of staring at the body, and they see him like, you know, jolting a little bit, and a whole ass, like, I guess like a human proportionate bat wing like pops out from the creeper's body. So at this point, we know for certain he is not human. He is something else. I mean, if nothing else gave it away, this was it right here in this moment. So they run over him again, and they drive to the nearest police station in the next county. At this point, Trish is on the phone with her and Derry's parents, and I'm not sure if at this point they've told their parents what's going on, like, to the full extent. It seems the phone conversation that her mom is wanting to come and pick them up, but she's like, no, we're just gonna leave out of here now and, you know, just stay home. So as they're hanging up the phone, in walks a woman, and she's very frantic, and she's trying to talk to Trisha and Derry. And she seems to be aware of their situation, and the police officer is like, oh, this is Giselle. She thinks that she's a psychic. And it becomes very clear that she is the woman that was speaking on the phone with them at the diner. Apparently, Giselle helped the police department with a missing persons case. And I'm like, y'all need to put more respect on Giselle's name. What are we doing right now? Like, they're being so rude to her. Giselle tells Trisha and Derry that she's driven a long way to see them, and that they don't have to believe her, but she's just trying to warn them of the creeper. And Trish tries to brush her off like, we don't need to be talking to anybody right now. But Giselle like puts her foot down and is like, no, we need to talk about this. And so apparently the creeper is an entity of sorts, I guess you could say. And every 23rd spring for 23 days, he gets to eat. She explains that he eats certain parts from certain people depending on what he needs. So it's like if he needs lungs, he'll eat num 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 num, he'll eat up some lungs and now he can breathe. Basically whatever he eats becomes a part of him.
Bon appetit!
And Giselle tells Trish and Derry that the creeper likes one of them and he isn't going to stop until he has them. And it's something that he can smell in their fear that determines who he wants to eat. So just as they're having this conversation, the creeper pulls up to the police station and he's very clearly injured. And then the power cuts out, the phones cut out. The police officer goes down to the holding cell to check on the inmates. And as he's going down the line, checking on everybody, there's the creeper. He is in there eating the inmates, replenishing himself. And the cop sits there standing, staring just like a little bit too long. And I'm like, bro, do something. Like, pull out your gratatata or run out of there. I don't know, do anything other than just sit there staring. And I guess it's the initial shock of seeing something. I guess it's like a flight or fight response. But I'm like, bro, like, do something. Upstairs, bless her heart, Giselle is trying to get through to Trish and Derry, but it seems like they don't want to listen. More specifically, Trish is giving her a hard time. She's explaining that they still need to be weary, and they still need to be weary of the song that she played for them earlier, saying that whoever the creeper picks will end up screaming their last scream in a dark room while the song is playing on an old phonogram. Now, at this point, all the cops have been sent downstairs to deal with the creeper, leaving Giselle, Trish, and Derry upstairs. Giselle tells Trish and Derry that they need to escape and that they need to leave out of there. So they're trying the emergency exits and they're not opening because the power is out. And I'm like, what kind of emergency exit is that? Now Trish is yelling at Giselle and is like, how could you not see this? You've seen everything else. Why couldn't you see that there was no exit up here? And Giselle is explaining that sometimes there are parts missing from her visions. And Trish is like literally on Giselle's ass and is like, can't you dream up something useful? And I'm like, bro, she's here trying to help y'all. Like, can you be less of an asshole right now? What the fuck? And Giselle is saying that she was hoping that she could change their future. And that's the whole reason that she's there, is to try to help them and save them. So Derry comes to the conclusion that Giselle knows which one of the two is going to be in the dark screaming their last scream with Jeepers Creepers playing over a phonogram. So Derry is freaking out. He's grabbing her face, which I'm like, what the fuck? Like, he was down there with all those bodies. At some point they pulled over to pee in the middle of a field and I did not see Derry wash his hands. So I'm just like, why are you touching my face right now? Ew. So Trish, like I said, is on Giselle's ass and she's like, oh, she doesn't know shit. And then the creeper comes down the hall and Giselle like literally puts herself in between Trish and Derry, and the creeper basically puts herself in front of the creeper so they can escape. And if I was her, all that shit Trish was talking, I'd like, come and get them, bro, because I'm tired of them disrespecting me like this. Trish and Derry go run upstairs and now Giselle is down here with the creeper. And so the creeper is like climbing up on the side of the wall. The creeper somehow ends up behind Giselle and then he like grabs her and like sniffs her neck in a way that felt, I don't know, like I could be crazy, I could be wrong. And like, don't look at me like that. Y'all see how he grabbed her. Creeper sniffs Giselle. Apparently he doesn't like how her fear smells and then discards her, which that would have fueled my delusions more. Like if he would have grabbed me like that, sniffed me like that, and then spared my life, I would have been like, I don't know, y'all seen that, right? So Trish and Derry are trying to find their way out. And at this point, the creeper has already found them. They're kind of like in a two-way mirror situation. And creeper is like sniffing each of them through the window. And Derry and Trish are having like this weird silent argument. And it's just a hot ass mess. And so the creeper busts in there and he starts sniffing them back and forth. He has them both and he's sniffing them back and forth trying to figure out which one that he wants to take. And then he like licks Trish on the neck and then discards her. So he's decided that he's going to take Derry. And just as this happens, there's like a whole SWAT team has now entered the room. And Trish is trying to reason with the creeper. And she's like, take me, I'm stronger. Like, take me. And Derry is basically telling her not to sacrifice herself. And there's this moment where it looks like the creeper is contemplating leaving Derry and taking Trish. But ultimately, he decides to take Derry. His weird human proportionate bat wings spread open. And he jumps out the window or flies out the the window, taking Derry with him. Trish tries to run after them, but of course, like, he's in the sky, it's a lost cause, he gets away. So the next morning, Trish is still at the police station and she's waiting for her parents, and Giselle walks in, and Trish is telling Giselle, like, you never answer Derry's question, do your dreams, do your visions always come true? And then Giselle, bless her heart, and I can only assume is trying to make Trish feel better by saying, like, oh, you know, ask anybody, I'm just a crazy lady who thinks she's psychic, like, I'm crazy, like, don't listen to me, I guess as a way to comfort her so she doesn't immediately know the conclusion of her brother's demise. But I can say it's safe to say that her visions always come true, because we're now at the end of the film and Derry is indeed screaming his last scream while Jeepers Creepers is playing over an old phonogram. And the movie basically ends with the creeper having eaten Derry's eyes and is now wearing them as his own. I feel like any horror movie where the villain or the antagonist is indestructible, it's a lost cause. And I feel like for me, if I'm like stuck in that situation, like if I were Derry and Trish and Giselle was like, hey, this is gonna happen and he's indestructible, I would have just like, I would have handled myself. Like the creeper would have came through and been like, what happened? I'm just gonna eliminate myself from going through all of that. Because I just feel like trying to fight your way out of an impossible situation is a lot of work. Like, I feel the same with like movies where they have the fast zombies. I can't be doing all that running. I told you I got asthma. Like, I feel like I would have tried to if, let's say, it was like the 22nd day, because like I said before, it's every 23 years for 23 days. So if it's like the 23rd day, I would be like, okay, like it's his last day, I have time. Now, if it's like day 5, if it's like day 10 even, day 12, I would be like, bro, I'm not gonna be worried about this for the next 10 days. This is crazy. In any movie too, any horror film where grata-ta-tas aren't working, where weapons don't work, I'm not doing that shit. What are we talking about right now? Oh, you're fucked in a scary movie if the police are getting got. If you look at a normal horror film, like let's say it's like a serial killer or something, that's something that can be managed. You know, like that's something where it's like, okay, you bleed like how I bleed. But the fact that he's like, you shot me and it did literally nothing and I can fly, being able to fly is just unfair. Like he gets like a whole vantage point. And I feel like the creeper himself reminds me of Pennywise, because, you know, it's like in the town of Derry, Pennywise comes through, I think it's like every 27 years or something, and he eats like fear, or he lives off of like the children's fear, similar to the creeper, where it's like he's there every 23 years, 23 days, and he smells something in people's fear that makes him want to eat them. And I'm like, okay, that's also doable too, because it sounds to me, and I could be wrong, that it just sounds like you need to have that, you know what I mean, have that dog in you. You just need to be like not scared. I feel like that's easy enough. And I'm like, with all the crazy shit going on in the world right now, he'd be lucky that I don't go out and find him myself. And I do think this is like a really valuable lesson of to mind your fucking business, because I think it was already bad enough that they had that encounter with him while they were driving on the road. And I genuinely feel like if they did not go back to that church, none of that would have happened. Because if you look at Derry and Trish's reaction after they had that initial encounter with the creeper, they were fine. Like right after, they weren't like super shaken up. They were just like, what the fuck, like that was weird. And then I think with them having that stare down while he was dumping those bodies, that's where they kind of fucked up. And I feel like this is one of those movies where it's really dope if you watch it blind, because the whole time you're thinking, oh, this is probably some crazy dude like dumping bodies, he's probably a serial killer. And I think with that concept, the idea of the creeper feels a lot more manageable. It seems less scary, really, because it was like, okay, it's just a man. And I think that's why they felt comfortable enough going back to the church, because they were like, oh, it's not a whole entity that can regenerate and is essentially invincible for 23 days. I'm pretty sure they thought it was just a man and felt like, okay, you know, we can handle that. Which it's like, even if it was just like, why are you getting involved to that degree? I'm not implying that I wouldn't get involved if I seen a crime like that, but to go there and physically try to discover shit yourself is like way too much. But my whole thing is I wouldn't even have been able to witnessed the crime because my eyes would have been locked on the road. Like, they had their necks broken looking over at that church while the creeper was dumping those bodies. If I was him, I would have came after them too, because it's like, look at the road. Like, why are you paying attention to what I'm doing? This is insane right now. And don't get me started on poor Giselle. Honestly, if I was Giselle, after that, I would never help anybody again. I would be like, you know what? I'm gonna have my little visions and I'm gonna mind my business. I'm gonna manifest the lottery ticket numbers and I'm getting out of this town. But yes, that's all that I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. I hope that you never witness an immortal entity that regenerates dumping bodies. Hopefully you don't see that and he won't have to come after you. And are we in spring? We are in spring. Every 23rd spring. Oh, that would have been last year. It came out in 2001. Every 23rd spring would have been 2024. We're all good. We don't even have to worry about that for another 23 years. And who knows where we'll be by then. But yes, that's all that I have for you today. Okay, bye.
Creepers, creepers, why do you get so sleepers? Creepers, creepers, why do you get so light?